So as good as EG, as good as their name and their reputation might be, they still have to overcome a few things. I mean, they're certainly in a situation now where, coming in this, there are a lot of question marks surrounding them, and that kind of thing can play on your conscience, can play on your head, it can play on your confidence in general. So we'll see. Obviously, still the way hands down favorite, but Void Boys, we'll see what they can do. We'll see if they've actually got something up their sleeve. Haven't talked to draft pretty much hardly at all, so how about we recap and take you to where we are right now. DP and the Elder Titan band out along with Slark and Dragon Knight for Evil Geniuses. The Lifestealer and Ricky band out courtesy of Void Boys, joined by Sven and Timbersaw, who we saw in action to great effect on our previous cast and match Cap and I. Darkseer, Bounty Hunter, and Winter Wyvern picked up for EG as the front three. Oracle, Beastmaster, and Kunkka are now joined by Viper in that fourth slot.
Okay, so breaking down this draft, Evil Geniuses with the Darkseer Bounty Hunter, that's not terribly surprising, but Darkseer is like very heavily favored. It's an offlaner right now. There's very few heroes in the offlane that can really see this kind of draft priority. Beastmaster is the other one. With the Bounty Hunter, obviously, they can't get the Riki into their hands, but they still get an Invis hero that can provide a lot of aggression in the aggro duel lane. But I think Void Boys here are looking at... I'm just trying to figure out what this Kunkka is doing. I think this Kunkka is support, just because I don't have a whole lot of faith in carry Kunkka.
Right.
So I think this is a Kunkka support, and that their lanes... Well, Oracle deals with Darkseer pretty well in the lanes because he can dispel the Ion Shell. So I think their safe lane will go all right against the Bounty Hunter. I don't think, Bounty Hunter... The important thing is to have tanky heroes that aren't affected by the Bounty Hunter. That's really important, because otherwise the Bounty Hunter has a really big impact in the laning phase and then goes from there, gets his level 6, and he has a high impact because he gets a lot of gold. There's 2 stages to the Bounty Hunter. If you can stop stage 1 in its tracks by just having, tanky heroes that are hard for the Bounty Hunter to zone out with his harassment, whether it's in mid or the safe lane or wherever, then I think you're already off to a good start. The second question is whether or not this lineup of Void Boys is actually going to work, because it's this weird concoction of early aggression and team fight with the Viper, and maybe this Kunkka pick, I guess, that gives you team fight. I don't know. I think Beastmaster has to have a really good game, no matter what carry Void Boys pick up.
That's kind of what I was thinking, too. When you look at, dedicated lockdown, reliable lockdown, there's basically Roar, and that's it. I mean, yeah, you can hit a Torrent once in a while, and that's fine. Whenever I look at the Void Boys lineup right now, and I think you really hit the nail on the head, my friend, this just reminds me of, it's like the term I would use is a Theorycraft lineup, where it's like, you're sitting on a message board 2 in the morning, you're like, what about X and Y, and then this can happen, and then you follow with this and this and this. And whenever you structure it and you think it through how the steps could play out and how these heroes could all work together, it's easy to see why you would go with a draft like this. But that's, talking about how that could work, and then actually executing it against top-tier talent is something entirely different.
Yeah.
And taking a look at EG, I like the Phantom Lancer pickup. I'm assuming that is a support Kunkka. They have almost no AoE on the side of Void Boys outside of the boat, so it's not like they're going to be able to deal with his illusions if the game does happen to go late, if they do manage to push it to that point. And EG just has, I feel like this is a very well-rounded, very stereotypical EG draft in the sense that they've accounted for about everything. Like you said about the offlaner, you've got the ability to pressure early, you've got the ability to rely on track gold if by some miracle Void Boys does put them in a hole early, you've got solid counter initiation out of the Winter Wyvern. You've got a lot that you can rely on. Then, of course, you've got the farming Slarder, who can just flat out take a game over and with good vision be able to shut down any kind of team fight that Void Boys wants to put together. So I feel very good about EG's lineup. We'll see how Void Boys wants to finish theirs at the 5th pick.
It's gotta be where some of the better carries to deal with Phantom Lancer. So Sven's already been taken away. Ember Spirit's been taken away. What's another cleaving hero or a really hyper-aggressive pushing hero? Those are the 2 ways to deal with it, because I don't think you can out-carry this team. Okay, Morphling.
I was actually going to say Jug. I mean, when you're talking about
Jug, Battle Fury Jug, I guess. That's
yeah.
Not a bad idea. I mean, maybe. Can they beat Phantom Lancer? I don't know. Morphling doesn't he just get torn up by Diffusal Blade, Phantom Lancer.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Is like the Morphling, I don't really understand. Like, unless there's just something that they feel very confident about, that, like they don't really need to worry about the PL that much.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Morphling gives you.
Prepare for battle.
I mean, it's a safe lane carry that deals with Darkseer pretty well. I mean, it gives you some hard carry potential. I'm not convinced about it versus the Phantom Lancer. I thought drafting wise they were put into a corner just because some of their weird picks like Viper and stuff. I think a couple things that need to happen for Void Boys to have a chance at being able to win this game. First of all, Beastmaster has to have a good time. Ideally in the laning phase, looks like he's holding off on whether or not he wants to buy Iron Talon, which he'll probably see the matchup in Slardar, Winter Wyvern, and go, yeah, let's just go ahead and pick up Iron Talon, just make things easy. That needs to go well, and Viper needs to shut down the Phantom Lancer mid. Samael's mid Phantom Lancer, I'm interested to see how he does versus Susie's or 747's Viper, but...
How do you handle that matchup? I mean, on paper, it should be pretty damn difficult. I mean, PL, he's elusive and slippery, but at the same time, it's a Viper's a Viper. Hold that thought, though, as we'll see what happens with the runes. Looks like it's going to be pretty standard stuff, as EG has a Stranglehold on top, and at bottom, obviously, Void Boys will take the others. So, actually, table that question for just a moment, Cap. We'll come back to it. For now, let's take a look at who's handling who as they make their way to lane. It's going to be Symbol of Peace playing on our Kunkka. He's hanging around the jungle right now, making his way towards mid. Looks like it will be a support, joined by Omega Poner on the Oracle as well. Morphling played by Patzel. He'll be playing, farming in the safe lane, I should say. Mid will be played by 747, as you had mentioned. That's going to be the Viper pick. And Snake King did pick up the Iron Talon, now ready to go to work here in the off lane. Now on the other side, Evil Geniuses, PPD playing his, I would say at this point, fairly trademark Winter Wyvern. In mid, as you mentioned, Sumail on the Phantom Lancer, going to be going up against a tough matchup in the Viper. Universe is going to start going to work in the jungle on the Darkseer right off the bat using the Iron Talon as well. It's going to be Zai wandering around on the Bounty Hunter, trying to harass Snake King and being pretty effective at least leeching some experience so far. And then, of course, Fear, who is farming up the Slardar.
I think part of the reason I wanted to see Iron Talon on Snake King, it used to be thought that these kind of 4 positions like Bounty Hunter and Riki were too disruptive for you to run junglers, but I think that's not actually the case whatsoever, and we figured that out with Iron Talon being so good. Beastmaster is just able, like, look at him. He doesn't actually get low because he doesn't tank the creeps very much. Nice. Very well played by Snake King, holding like he was faking the right click. And looks like they caught Zai. Zai very quickly eating through the trees was a smart play. He just needs to try and wade out the dust, but I don't think he's going to make it.
Yep, the boar slow is real, and
it's close.
He's going to try to double it back. God. Oh, barely made it. Barely made it.
And too bad they don't have a second round of vision.
Sentry wards. But Zai's going to make it away, and as you said...
Oh, no! Oh.
I blame you. You're controlling the camera.
All right. Viper died. All right, so the answer of how well is Samael going to be able to do versus the Viper mid, apparently pretty well. He just killed him. I mean, I think Phantom Lancer does, like, okay versus his matchup, but he shouldn't win it outright. Like, he shouldn't be able to pick up a kill. That is pretty absurd.
Not just the kill either, by the way. Even before the kill happened. I mean, I guess he did just get a few free CS. He was still hanging and banging with the Viper pretty even. 9 for 2 versus 9 for 1. So it wasn't as if he was being completely bullied out of that lane to begin with. And I'm actually really sad we missed it. I'd love to know what the hell happened.
Yeah, I have no clue. The nature of the ever-roaming 4 position. Looks like they caught Zai and should be able to kill him this time around. They have this kind of cool combination of, oh my god.
Wow. Okay, so Zai's going to be able to make it away once again. As a little bit of a, would you call that a misplay from Void Boy or a good play from Zai?
No, that was, I mean, like, Zai, you can be like, okay, that was kind of smart of him to run backwards, but that was so poorly coordinated by these two, the 2 supports. Like, he should have been laid out the torrent and say, release, and first of all, you put the torrent in the middle of the Bounty Hunter so he doesn't just run back on you like that.
Right.
I think it was just Symbol of Peace misclicking torrent, but
maybe a little nerves coming into it, you think?
But you can see, like, Snake King, he's not low enough for Zai to actually kill him. I don't know what's going on.
All right, there we go.
All right, we're back. he's never low enough for the bounty hunter's harassment to actually have an impact. So the best you can do is soak half experience, but that's not actually useful because the Beastmaster is still progressing in gold, right? So you're just like, okay, you take half the experience. That doesn't mean much. So this is why Iron Talon offlane still works, even against these kind of roamers.
Yep, symbol of peace there. He's basically the same level as Zai at this point, so that tells you how well that's going for Zai. Just trying to leech experience and be disruptive. Thankfully for EG, though, the mid continues to go their way. Now 21 CS to the 12 of the Vipers. So it's not even that he's doing well. He's dominating the lane, and Zai does manage to snag the regen rune right from out from under the bounty hunter. How about the carries? 29 CS for Fear, 23 for Patsol on the Morphling.
Yeah, they're both having a free lane. It's pretty standard. Like, carries have a pretty boring time the first 10 minutes just because so many offlaners will abandon in favor of Iron Talon, just because it's safer. Like players like Moon Meander and Swindles, who are two American offlaners who are very outspoken about how much they hate Iron Talon. It's because they're not farming offlaners. Their playstyle is meant to be like disruptive and in your face and draw attention away from the mid lane, and that's just not entirely where the meta's at. It can still work, but it's much more Iron Talon and farming focused in the offlane.
Now, how do you feel about the Iron Talon? Just as a commentator with no dog in the fight.
Oh god, 747's mega dead.
Death number 2.
So I would say that it's not good. I mean, it makes offlane boring to watch. Like I'll be honest, Snake King, he should be okay. Like I as an offlaner, like when I play offlane, I like to be really disruptive, but so it doesn't fit my play style either. But I think it's also just boring to watch and too simplified.
That's kind of how I feel. Is I don't like anything in any game, be it Dota or otherwise, where it's just like, oh, okay, so some people, like, we want you to be able to get farms, so we're going to create an item that basically makes it so you can do one thing that already you have a role to do. You know what I mean? Like, it makes it feel just a little too farm-centric across the board, as opposed to playing with a multitude of play styles that are all suitable in the meta.
The best suggestion I've heard so far is to increase Iron Talon's cost by, it doesn't even have to be that much, just enough that you can't buy Iron Talon and Tangos at the beginning of the game. Because that'll either slow down your farm in the beginning because you have to pick up Tangos and you don't have that activatable yet from the Iron Talon being complete, and you have to go back to complete it, or you start out with just Iron Talon, in which case 4 positions like this Bounty Hunter here would actually have a much larger impact because you don't have a source of regen.
That's fair. That's a really smart way to look at it. To me, like lowering the percentage of damage, because it's really that first burst of damage on the big creeps that makes Iron Talon so effective. So if you lower it to something like 30%, I think that slows it down enough. It doesn't completely eliminate the purpose of the item, but it'll make it so you can't just use those front 4 Tangos to just continuously tank through and do well early. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a guy who used to cast Dota. EG continuing to roam around. Zai has found himself level 3. He is falling pretty damn far behind. In fact, he and the Kunkka are the lowest levels on the map. Looks like EG wants to get something going, though, as they've now hooked up Universe and PPD with him.
Yeah, they Universe should never like show in lane against this kind of matchup, just because the Morphling's pretty dangerous, and then we should have seen the power of this combination of Oracle and Kunkka, where you have this really long ensnare that allows the Torrent to be able to land. Pretty cool combination, a lot of nuking power. So when Universe shows up in lane, I think it is a bit obvious that he's got some backup behind him, but obviously Void Boys, even if it wasn't completely obvious just from that read, they even had a ward in lane, so they shouldn't be caught out by this in any way. As I say that, though, Omega Poner's a little far out.
Yep, here we go. Jumping ahead is Sumail. Omega Poner able to make it away. Torrent's going to be off the mark. X marks the spot onto the Phantom Lancer. Sumail sent back. Symbol of Peace, gonna double time it back to his tier 2. And it looks like Sumail wants to play this out. Going to hit the Spirit Lance. Doing good damage and will get a kill under the enemy tier 2. This is a major dive taking place back there. In the meantime, the rest of EG just continuing to peck away at the tier 1. So pretty much no response whatsoever out of Void Boys.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting that EG, like, that is a 5-man rotation before the 10-minute mark. Now, it's not that weird to evade the enemy safe lane. Like, very common factor ever since TI5, where CDC, they were the team to do it the most with aggressive, or at least they were the team to do it most successfully with their aggressive gyrocopter, where they would always move that carry into the enemy safe lane, invade, just because your own safe lane is too dangerous, right? But Snaking, think he's dead? As to Primal Roar, Universe might still be able to run him down.
Close. Yeah, Universe.
He's going to have to punch him a couple times. I don't think that's going to work.
One more? Oh, nope. Thought he would get there. Not the case. Meantime, down at bottom, Fear taking a little bit of damage. He was X'd and torrented, but he's got an armlet done already, by the way. We haven't even really gone through item progression all that much. Take a look at the Morphling. He's not got much. I mean, he's not that far behind Fear, but certainly just as a whole, 0-0 and 0's been a part of less compared to cores like Sumail's Phantom Lancer, who has already got 1,800 gold up. We'll see if he wants to go tier 2 boots, if he wants to go straight defusal or what.
Yeah, that's the big difference, is that Viper, like 747, you don't pick a Viper to lose the laning phase, but he definitely did, right? And then Sumail managed to be a part of some kills, and they get the tier 1 tower at bottom lane. Now he's almost double the net worth. In fact, he's over double the net worth of the Viper. That is the big difference of how the laning phase went. You could say that, like, oh, Morphling, you know, he doesn't have as much net worth because the tier 1 tower got chased out of his lane or whatever, but and that's fair. But the big difference is the impact of our mid laners is going to be dramatically different.
Yep. Across the board, I mean, EG has the 3 highest in terms of net worth. To put that in perspective, that means that Universe's Darkseer is more farmed than the Morphling at this point. That's a disturbing fact if you're a Void Boy or a Void Boy fanboy. And you're talking roughly a 5,000 to 6,000 gold deficit that they found themselves in. And it's one thing to be in that whole 20 minutes in, you're losing, but whatever. We're just 10 minutes in. The laning phase is barely broken apart, and your efficiency has been so poor that you're already falling that far behind. So that's the negative. Let's talk about the positive. What does Void Boys have to rely on? We know they've got the Faceless Void. Or actually, no, we don't. We know the Void Boys have the Kunkka. I was looking at the Void photo right next to him, who is a team fight monster. Is he going to be something that can help turn this around off of the initiation of Snake King?
Yeah, they have really good ganking potential thanks to the X marks the spot, but oh, they're going to miss out. I think they got scared by seeing Fear, and I guess they should be. They don't really have the nukes to guarantee a kill here against 2 of the tankier heroes. EG are actually just, I think, very smartly leaving the 2 tankiest heroes in this bottom lane. Looks like Sumail managed to pick up the kill in mid, but I think they're still going to run somebody down here. Looks like it's going to be the Kunkka. Yeah, they've got him.
Well, the Roar was already used, and it was funny. You had just brought up them being scared, and certainly we saw the action fit that as well. They were running away on the assumption that EG was going to chase them down, and they certainly have, as there's another kill tally that Kunkka brought down by the crush from Fear. But as they were running away, they didn't have vision. They had no idea if anyone from EG was even coming. In fact, Sumail was in mid. Like they had good reason to believe they weren't, and they still spent a Roar on one hero just in case there was going to be somebody else coming. 5-0 rather. Void Boys continuing to just fall apart here in this quali game.
Yeah, you just look at the way that Evil Geniuses, I think it's just cool to watch their movement. The way that they move out of their safe lane like super early on. They move all 5 heroes to bottom lane. It's kind of coincidental just because Sumail sees the opportunity to rotate as a Phantom Lancer, but the fact that they move the other 4 heroes outside of Sumail into bottom lane at 8 minutes, right? By 8 minutes, they do that. Then they leave to the tankier heroes in bottom lane and leave their top. They've abandoned the top lane for the most part. The only time they show up is when the lane actually gets pushed in by a single hero, like the Morphling, who's trying to split push that and just be farm efficient. Right. When he does that, they're like, we're not going to give up a free tower. We know you're alone because we just want to fight, so we'll send someone to defend. But otherwise, they just completely abandon their lane. They're focused on controlling the Radiant jungle as well as controlling mid. And there's no farming points. You look at the map, there's no real good farming points for Void Boys at this point. Like, they lost their laning phase, so Viper needs a way back in by being able to farm up his mech, and Morphling still needs a lot of farms. So does Beastmaster, for that matter. But they have very few areas. Most of the areas are neutral camps, like this safe area right here. That's covered up by a ward. Then there's this camp. They see the rotation of these heroes going into the off lane. So they know how many heroes are heading up there and whether or not they can actually save their tier 1 or just give it up. Their whole entire Radiant jungle, this part of the area, completely covered. Like, there's no way you can farm this. And if you do, even if you farm the safe lane here, you could see what happens.
Trouble bottom. As that's going to be a track kill. No, they'll catch you anyway. And just good movement, as you had mentioned. CG's timings, seeing that Void Boys have committed a few folks up the top, etc. And you can't blame the Morphling. I mean, he's farming just under the shadow of his own tier 2. And granted, you certainly, you have to be aware whenever the map's dark. I don't know what you can do. And I think the big problem I'm beginning to have, on top of everything you said, which is 100% on point, is in a perfect world, Void Boys down 0-6, say they go on a 8, they get 8 kills unanswered, they take a couple of towers. Even so, the damage is so done already for EG, and the fact that the Phantom Lancer is so far ahead. He's got his diffusal ready. The pieces are going to be on the way to him shortly. He's also got his Boots of Traveler. So his ability to split push is going to keep the map in EG's hands, at least for the foreseeable future. And, the Morphling can help with that a little bit with very judicious use of the Replicate. But at the same time, what does Void Boys have to really answer a 30-40 minute PL? And we talked about this during the draft. I just don't see them being able to do so.
They don't really have anything. They're doing the right play right now. They need to avoid fights and go for pickoffs. So moving their 2 supports to top lane is the right play. Unfortunately, they're not going to get PPD, and now they're going to get turned around on by mass TPs.
Yep, and this is going to be 2. They just lost 1 in mid. Sybil of Peace is gone. There's a vacuum to bring him right back in. And EG just piling it on at this point. And you begin to wonder, is this going to be a donut game? 4 are down. 10 kills for Evil Geniuses, exactly 0. Goose egg. For Void Boys, they have not managed to bring 1 hero down from EG this entire game. And outside of a lucky gank, I don't even know how they're going to do it. That's a 2,000 gold swing overall. We're already to 10,000 gold deficit for Void Boys as a whole.
Yeah, they call it. It's over.
GG. So Goose egg. EG whitewashes Void Boys. And Cap, I'll tell you what, man, we've seen some good Dota. The problem is the good Dota we're seeing is matched up against not awesome Dota.
Yeah, I think Evil Geniuses, I'm not going to put Void Boys too far out. I think this is a little bit, like, in the previous matchup that we casted together, I'm going to put that more on Drinking Boys.
Yeah.
Just because I think FDL is good, but they're not that good. I think EG is that good. I think that this iteration of Evil Geniuses has the potential to be a TI winning team, like they want to be. So I think that they actually just make teams look that bad. Right. Plus the draft wasn't good. I think they made some serious errors. They probably like a little bit nervous, and they think they have to like do something, like maybe they drafted Viper preemptively and we're like, all right, we're gonna shut down Samael. That'll be our into this game, right? But that very clearly didn't work out. In fact, that was probably their biggest weakness. They did this kind of weird support duo with Kunkka Oracle. I could see kind of where they're going. It counters the Darkseer. It makes the offlane impossible to go into. But we're in the age of Iron Talon gaming. There's no need for you to actually worry about whether or not you can get anything out of the offlane. And Evil Genius is just, I didn't really get to fully explore it, but we kind of got delved into they're moving around the map and the way they controlled from a dire side perspective, right? They got these hyper aggressive wards up thanks to the bounty hunter. They controlled the Radiant jungle. They had ward points on the other areas of neutrals that aren't as easily controlled.
Right.
And then they left their off lane. Just to push in, whatever, because it's like a deadline. You just leave it be. If they farm it, like sometimes you'll defend if you feel confident. They're not actually 3 or 4 heroes there. But Void Boys just didn't know how to react to like that amount of control. And with that kind of draft, to be honest, I'm not sure how well they could have. They tried a little bit where they started pushing down that tier 1 with the Necronomicon and stuff, and that was kind of the right play, but. At that point, they just given up far, far too much. They can't have Viper lose a lane. That is actually so bad.
Well, phenomenal insight, phenomenal analysis from our very own Dota capitalist, and phenomenal play from EG as they close out this game in just shy of 15.5 minutes, not dropping a single hero. Instead, going 10-0 on the kill score. I'm AC. Once again, that's Cap. This one's in the books. Not sure how long the downtime's going to be before our next one. We'll find out, though. In the meantime, make sure you check out the multi-stream and/or any of the other awesome BTS streams going on from the TI Qualifier Hub here in beautiful Southern California. We'll be right back.